everyone. Back when I did my Cincinnati chili how-to, I had put into the comments section if there's anything you'd like me to make, leave me a message and we'll make it. So I got a message from Lisa Nelson on YouTube who asked me to make meatloaf. So today we're going to make it. And I'm also going to make my homemade macaroni and cheese, which is actually Alton Brown's recipe, but it's mine because I made it. So I have here a very old, falling apart Better Homes and Gardens cookbook. It's actually two together. This one was my mother's, and she gave it to me, gosh, I think when I got married to my first husband, and we got our first apartment together. She gave it to me then, and it had the binding had fallen apart. I mean, it was just falling apart. So I got another copy, and it didn't have the same recipes. And all my learning how to cook for my family came from this cookbook, but the new versions didn't have the recipes that the old versions have. So I just combined the old version with the new version. And actually, a few years ago, looking through thrift shops and antique stores, I managed to find an actual copy of this old version, but I still like to use this one. So anyway, the recipe I'm going to use from this version is called Twin Meatloaves, and this is the family favorite. I make a few different meatloaves, so I'll have other meatloaf recipe or videos in the future, but this is the one that I have been making since I was a 22-year-old housewife with a baby and made my first meatloaf. So first we need to chop up a few things. Actually, we'll start with bread, and I just happen to have some of my sourdough bread, which has been really yummy. And I find I am not gluten intolerant whatsoever, but I find that I can eat sourdough better than regular bread. So I'm going to be working on adapting some of our favorite breads to sourdough. But anyway, the first thing I have to do is to chop up 3 cups of soft breadcrumbs, or bread cubes. I think this book, maybe from like 1968, or it could actually be the early 70s too. It's got a lot of those funky 60s-ish recipes in it. Like there's one recipe for, gosh, what is it called? It's a brunch loaf where you take a whole bread loaf, only you cut it this way instead of this way, and you cut 4 slices, and then on the bottom slice you put ham salad, and then in the middle you put tomatoes and cheese, and then in the top you put egg salad, and then you put the top of the bread on it, and then you make a cream cheese frosting. It's a savory frosting though, that you put all around the loaf, and then you sprinkle it with chives and parsley. It's really beautiful when you cut into it, and it's so good. But it's just like one of those 60s casserole-ish, or not casserole, but something you'd see someone on Mad Men make, you know. Oh, tossing breadcrumbs into the garbage can. No, Raven, these aren't for you. Can you see what I'm doing? Okay, I gotta lower that a little bit. Okay. That bread or bowl here, we'll put all our bread cubes in the bowl. And then we're gonna soak them in milk. And this is like the binder for the meatloaf. And I didn't even need to cut into the loaf of bread. Those buns were just enough. Perfect! Okay, let me dump these crumbs in here. Alright, so we need 3/4 of a cup of milk. We'll put that in with the bread and let that soak up for a few minutes while I chop up the onion. Come on, Raven. Move out of the way. So I'm going to let that soak. And it calls for 1/4 cup of finely chopped onion. Now, I have minced onion, dried minced onion, which I could use, which would be fine. I mean, there are meatloaf recipes that call for using like Lipton onion soup as the flavor, and that would be fine. I'm just gonna take my very dull knives and use a real onion here. Cut the onion in half. I think for 1/4 cup, I only need half of a half. That should be enough. And honestly, the kids don't like big chunks of onion in the meatloaf anyway, so as long as we have the flavor.
Are you recording?
Mm-hmm.
Gross. You making?
I'm making meatloaf and macaroni and cheese. Okay, so we got our 1/4 cup of onion. The recipe also calls for celery, but I don't usually put it in it. Alright, so let's put, we got 2 eggs we'll put in here. Local brown beautiful chicken eggs. I can't wait till I can say that they're my own. Okay. And now we need to beat this up. Sorry, I had to get my hand beater. Just getting stuff out of the way. Now I'm definitely noticing that it is easier to record with my phone. It's a little dry, so I'm going to add some more water. Just a little bit. The bread cubes are going to become kind of a goo. Okay. See? Goo. Not very appetizing, is it? Okay, so I'm going to just push my onions in here. Okay, next we need a tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. That's about a tablespoon there. We need 1.5 teaspoons of salt. That's about 1.5 teaspoons. It's half a tablespoon. Okay, 1/8 of a teaspoon of pepper. We need a 1/2 teaspoon of poultry seasoning. And as usual, I have my Penzies, and now I can bring it up and it'll focus and you can see it. If you haven't tried Penzies, go to penzies.com. Their seasonings are the best. Especially their Fox Point seasoning and their Mural of Flavor. Half a teaspoon. That's about half a teaspoon. Nice sage in there. Okay, so let's mix this up. Get it all nice and mixed up, and then we'll add our meat. And for our meat, I have 1.5 pounds of ground beef and 1/2 pound of ground pork. Now, basically, I'm just going to do 2 pounds of ground beef and 1 pound of pork and make 2 big loaves. And the ingredient, I do this all the time, the ingredients seem to be fine for that extra pound, 1/2 pound, extra 1/2 pound? No, extra pound. Okay, so I got 2 pounds of ground beef and 1 pound of ground pork here. Gushy. When I cook, I tend to use recipes as a guide of where to start, and I pretty much, unless it's a baking where you have to be more precise because there are chemical reactions that need to happen, with other recipes I kind of do what I want, but I use recipes all the time, but I'm always changing them up. And you can do that. I mean, you don't have to, if you know what flavors you like, you can add your own flavors. If you know that there's an ingredient in there, like onions, that your family won't eat, you can use onion powder. You know, there's other things that you can do. You don't have to always follow it letter by letter. And I rarely do. Unless it's a baking recipe. And even then I change those up too. Okay, so we're going to make 2 nice loaves here. Let me move the camera so you can see. I'm just gonna put them in a loaf shape. I mean, I could just make a round or make one big one, but that'll take even longer to cook. So doing it in the loaf shape helps it cook faster. Otherwise, a lot of the time you'll end up with a raw middle. Come on, Shanice. No, I'm recording here. Bring the box. Ow. Thank you.
This doesn't have any wipes in it.
That was.
Where are the wipes?
They're on the sink, Shanice, where they always are. And put some bacon across the top. Now it's ready to go in the oven.
Here.
Thank you. Now this has it at 350 for an hour. I'm going to do it at 375 for about an hour or 45 minutes. I just find that 375 is a better temperature for ensuring that the middle comes out cooked and the bacon comes out cooked. And then once we get to like a half an hour before it's ready, I'll glaze it. Okay, and I will be back. We're back. I've got the noodles cooking, and I'm going to glaze the meatloaves right now. Look at that. Excuse me. I've got here a mixture of a 1/4 cup of ketchup and 2 tablespoons of corn syrup, light corn syrup. Not the high fructose corn kind. Just regular old light corn syrup. That's what helps it be glazy. When all the kids were still at home, one of my kids did not like the glaze, so I always had to make one with and one without. Well, I didn't have to, but, you know, my take on kids eating, and it has changed over the years. I wasn't always this way, but for the most part, my kids eat pretty healthy. I mean, and most of them eat whatever I make, or they did, you know, when they were all home. And I don't believe in forcing children to eat something they don't like. Now, when Seamus was little and he was first diagnosed with autism, we told his doctor, you know, the kid eats cheese, oranges, apples, salami, and pepperoni, and that's it. And we're concerned for his health. And she looked at all his charts and everything and his blood work, and she said he's growing. He's healthy. Don't worry about it. Don't make a battle out of something that's already difficult as it is with a child that's not neurotypical. Okay, these are going to go back in for another 15 minutes and then they should be done. So, you know, when I first became a mom, it's like, oh, you're not going to leave that table until you've cleaned your plate. Now what I do is when I make meals, I try to make 2 or 3 things for the meal, and hopefully the kids will like at least one of those things, so they have something they can eat. If they don't like the other thing or the other 2 things, they don't have to eat it. They eat what's available. Sometimes with Seamus's palate, he's got a lot of issues with texture and stuff. I may make him a sandwich instead of, you know, having him eat what we were eating. It's just not worth it. I'm not going to eat something I don't like, so why would I force my kids to eat something they don't like? So I've adapted over the years, like even when we're making the food menu, which we'll show you how we do that next month. Because I made a recording this month and I don't know what happened to it. I deleted it or something. But anyway, when I make the food menu, I mean, I've been doing this probably since like 2004. I get all the kids involved and I ask them, what are some meals that you would like to see on the dinner menu for this month? So everybody's got a favorite on the list. Everybody's got, you know, some stuff that they know that they're going to like on the list. And if there comes a dinner that somebody doesn't absolutely like anything in the dinner, then they are free to make a sandwich or a cup of noodles. And that's how we roll. I don't eat stuff I don't like, and I don't force my kids to eat stuff they don't like. Now, when it comes to Seamus, it's a little different. I mean, we do try to get him to eat things because he needs to eat more healthy stuff. But if you saw how much fruit this kid went through, you would not have any worries. All right, let's get these noodles drained, and then we'll start with the sauce. Oh, and we're not doing Alton's macaroni and cheese tonight. We're doing this recipe that I tried out last month. Smoked Gouda and sharp cheddar mac and cheese. I'll put the recipe in the description box below. Scott's really excited. He really likes this. Okay, while those are draining, oh, I got some stuck in the pan still. All right, while those are draining, we're going to create a roux and make our sauce. I'm going to put it on low. So the roux is 4 tablespoons of butter and a 1/4 teaspoon of flour. And with the roux, it's always 1-to-1. So if you have a half a stick of butter, if you have a half a stick of butter, which is a 1/4 cup, you'd have a 1/4 cup of flour. If you have a full stick of butter, which is a half a cup, then you would have a half a cup of flour. If you have 2 cups of butter, which is 2 cups, and you have 2 cups of flour. Or no, 1 cup. I'm sorry, I'm just confusing everybody. It's 1 to 1, so whatever your fat, your flour is the same amount. So we're gonna let that roux cook a little bit. Cooking it down slowly, lightly, helps get the floury taste out of it. If I were to add my liquids right now, I'd have a white sauce that tastes like flour. So you want to let that cook a little bit. And then I'm going to add my seasonings as well. So we need 2 teaspoons of dry mustard. It's about 1, 2. We need half a teaspoon of salt, and then we'll add more to taste. We need half a teaspoon of Cajun seasoning. I don't do Cajun because that's too hot for Seamus and Scott's stomach. So we're doing Arizona seasoning from Penzeys. I'm starting to sound like a Penzeys commercial. Maybe they should start paying me. And then a half a teaspoon of black pepper. Okay. Stir that up. Keep adding our roux. Now the original recipe calls for half and half. I do not have half and half today anyway. And I'd like to be able to eat this without getting sick, so I'm going to use almond milk and some real milk. Mostly almond milk though. Let me get my whisk. Get you guys up closer so you can see. I don't know if I can bring that down. Yeah, a little bit. Okay. Slowly put some milk in and stir. And 2.5 cups altogether. And it's supposed to be fat-free, half and half, which I don't even know what the purpose in the world for fat-free half and half is. I guess that's for the people that like to drink skim milk, which is an abomination. They think they're eating healthy, and skim milk is actually really bad for you. Okay, so we've got our milk in. We're making our white sauce. Keep that moving a little bit so the flour doesn't burn on the bottom of the pan. Should be fine though. Okay, and now we need to coddle an egg. Not coddle it, but kind of coddle it. Temper an egg, I guess you would call it. So we've got our egg, which I'm going to beat here. This warms up. I'm just going to pour a little bit in here and mix it up. This is called tempering, not coddling. What it does is it helps raise the temperature of the egg without turning it into scrambled eggs. So now it's raised the temperature up a little bit, and I can add it to the milk and it won't just turn into scrambled eggs. It'll be more of a thickener. Okay. So we've got a half a pound of Gouda here. That I just grated. Add that in. And we need a pound of cheddar. This is sharp cheddar. If you saw my cheese video, you saw that I had this in a big brick and I grated it up myself with my food processor. And then for a little bit more sharpness, I'm going to add, well, a big giant ball of Parmesan. Okay. And now I'm going to stir that up and I'm going to turn the heat off. It smells so good. Okay. So this is the dish I'm going to cook it in. Hopefully it's big enough. I've got a little blob of butter here and I'm going to butter my dish with it. Okay. Let's take our macaroni and add it in. Oops, sorry, camera. Bump the camera. It's sticking together because it's drying. The starches are coming out.
You're all so awkward. Sorry I was offended you people. I was trying to say two for the two quote.
Okay, now get my towels. It's a little hot. Let's pour this into our dish here. Oh my goodness. Cheese. Cheese is my life. I love me some cheese. Doesn't always love me, but I'll risk it. Stir that in real good. Get all those noodles covered with sauce. This over here so you can see it. I'm going to do a little taste test. The noodles are very al dente. They'll soften up more in the oven, but I want to make sure I've got all the spices and everything the way I want them, and if it's cheesy enough. So let's taste this. I think it's good. And we're going to take some cheese and sprinkle it over the top. We've got our meatloaves about to come out. I'm going to back you up a little bit so the oven door doesn't hit you. I'll take the meatloaves out now. There's only 3 minutes left on the cook time. That way I can check the internal temperature. Put our macaroni in. That's going to cook for about 20 minutes until it's bubbly. I expected it won't take that long because it's still pretty hot. We'll put it at 18 minutes. Okay. for meatloaf, I generally look for a temp between 155 and 170. 170, in my opinion, being too high. For meatloaf, you want it cooked. You don't want to have it rare. And beef is supposed to be cooked at 170, or no, 160. So let's see what this is in the middle. Okay, that one's at 152, 153. Let's check this one because it's a little thicker. That one's at 170. Let me try this one again. No. This one's done and this one isn't. So what I'm going to do is do some quick moving around here. Down at the bottom for now, so the meatloaf can hopefully get that bacon browned a little bit. Okay, so I will come back in 16 minutes and show you what everything looks like. While we're waiting for the food, I wanted to show you, this is what's left of the pumpkin bread that I made yesterday, Friday? Maybe Friday. This is Jenny at Betten the Farm's recipe, and I will provide a link to the video where she provides this recipe. It is so good, so moist, and I put chopped dates in it, so it's like having little bunches of caramel in there. It's so good. But that's one recipe I tried this weekend that I really like. Jenny at Betten the Farm. And I made something new with my sourdough starter. Ta-da! They don't look as pretty as they did when they came out. Cinnamon rolls. And I wanted to try the recipe out first because I'm very particular about my cinnamon rolls. I have a recipe that I have used for years, not sourdough, but a regular cinnamon roll. It's supposed to be like clone of a Cinnabon, and it pretty much tastes like it. But I thought I'd give these a try, and I was able to eat these without getting sick. The regular cinnamon rolls that I make, those make me very sleepy and give me tummy aches. So these didn't, and I'm starting to think that sourdough is the way to go for me anyway. You know, as long as my family continues to like it too, I'll just keep making it. I need to make regular bread tomorrow, so I'm going to do some sourdough loaves, and I want to find a recipe for some whole wheat sourdough bread too, because I'd like to start making whole wheat bread. Okay, so we got about 12 minutes. I'll be back when everything's done. Okay, guys. Here's the meatloaf. Doesn't that look yum? And the mac and cheese is coming out right now. Go. Lisa Nelson, this one's for you. Homemade meatloaf from a Better Homes and Gardens cookbook recipe from the late 1960s, and Gouda, smoked Gouda and cheddar cheese mac and cheese, which is a 2017 recipe I just got off, oh no, 2012. Okay, 2012 recipe I got off the internet, and I will put a link to this recipe in the description box below, and the recipe for the meatloaf will be in the description box below. So thanks for watching. If you liked my video, please remember to give me a thumbs up, and if you haven't yet, subscribe please, and hit that little bell next to the subscribe button, and it'll notify you every time we can put up a new video. And share our videos, spread us wide. We will be posting a couple videos in the next couple of days on some collaborations that we decided to do, and that'll be fun. And hopefully I know I've been saying for days now, oh, I'm gonna do a crafting video. I haven't been in a crafting mood, so I need to get over it because I have a signature to work on. So soon, I'll have a crafty video soon. So take care, have a good night, have a good dinner. I know I will. Bye.